Everyone wants immediate results, immediate money, immediate approval, immediate success. But that's why they lose. Because everything meaningful takes time to build on solid foundations. The game doesn't reward speed, it rewards endurance. The impatient burn out quickly. The patient accumulate forever. The long game isn't about waiting. It's about building while everyone else is chasing. It's about seeing 10 years ahead while others can't see past the next month. That's how you outlast them. That's how you win in silence. That's the mindset of the long game. Patience as your secret weapon. Chapter 1. The Addiction to Now. 1. The Age of Impulse. You live in a world that rewards impatience. Every screen trains you to want it now. Every click gives you pleasure instantly. Every scroll feeds the illusion of progress. But fast pleasure builds slow failure. Because the more you get now, the less you can wait later. And the inability to wait is the death of mastery. This is the truth. You've been programmed to trade depth for dopamine. You've been conditioned to chase stimulation instead of satisfaction. Every notification is a leash pulling you toward weakness. The addiction to now isn't harmless. It's surgical. It cuts your attention span. It rewires your nervous system. It destroys your tolerance for the long process that greatness requires. You have a choice. Disconnect from the rush. Detox from the instant. Reclaim your timeline. Because everything powerful takes time. Everything weak happens fast. 2. The trap of constant reward. Every habit of impatience feels good in the moment. That's the trick. Your brain loves the small wins. Likes, notifications, quick answers, easy meals. It mistakes them for success. But success doesn't come from feeling good. It comes from doing what's necessary. And the necessary rarely feels good immediately. Here's how the trap works. Each instant reward gives you a microdose of relief. Relief trains dependence. Dependence kills resilience. You scroll to escape boredom. You eat to escape discomfort. You talk to escape silence. You've built a life designed to avoid waiting. But every time you avoid waiting, you avoid growing. You never build the muscle that holds focus. You never develop the patience that compounds. The impatient spend their lives chasing stimulation. The patient spend their lives building empires. That's the divide. That's the law. 3. The illusion of progress. The addiction to now creates false movement. You feel busy. You feel active. You feel like you're advancing. But you're not. You're confusing motion with progress. You're mistaking stimulation for success. And that illusion is what keeps you trapped in mediocrity. Think of the sprinter who sprints in circles, sweating, exhausted, but still in the same place. That's the modern life. People running hard, going nowhere. Real progress is invisible at first. You don't feel it. You don't see it. You simply trust that every disciplined act is a brick being laid. The long game doesn't give you dopamine. It gives you dividends. It doesn't reward today. It compounds tomorrow. Here's the move. Stop measuring by how much you feel. Start measuring by how much you've built. Emotions lie. Results don't. 4. Rewiring your response to time. Your nervous system has been hijacked by speed. It expects stimulation every few seconds. When nothing happens, it panics. That's why silence feels unbearable. That's why stillness feels wrong. But stillness isn't the problem. It's the cure. Patience isn't weakness. It's recalibration. Here's how you rewire your system. Step 1. Pause before reward. Every time you want to react instantly, to reply, to buy, to distract, pause. 10 seconds of waiting rewires the impulse. Step 2. Expand your time horizon. Think in weeks, not hours. In years, not days. When your vision expands, your stress shrinks. Step 3. Detach emotion from timing. Just because something takes longer doesn't mean it's failing. Time isn't the enemy. It's the amplifier. You're not waiting, you're maturing. You're not slowing down, you're stabilizing. You're not falling behind. You're pulling ahead by refusing to rush. 5. The rebellion of patience. Patience is rebellion. It's resistance against a culture built on immediacy. It's choosing to build while everyone else scrolls. It's choosing to endure boredom instead of escaping it. It's choosing to wait, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Patience is not passive. It's the most active control there is. It's saying, I will not be rushed by noise. Every patient act is a quiet declaration of independence. Each time you wait, you separate from the herd. Each time you delay, you detach from weakness. Each time you stay calm, you step into power. That's the essence of the long game. The longer you can wait without losing focus, the more unstoppable you become. The impatient are slaves to urgency. The patient are masters of inevitability, because time bends for those who respect it and collapses for those who ignore it. You've seen how the addiction to now keeps the world trapped in small cycles of pleasure and panic. You've seen how waiting, though uncomfortable, rebuilds your strength. You've seen how patience isn't weakness, it's a weapon. Now it's time to learn how to use it strategically, to understand how time compounds everything you do. You've broken your addiction to now. Now it's time to master the law that governs the long game. Chapter 2. The Mathematics of Time. 1. The law that rules all growth. Everything powerful obeys one law. Compounding. Compounding is the mathematics of mastery. It's the invisible formula that builds strength, wealth, reputation, and wisdom quietly, predictably, relentlessly. But most people never experience it. Why? Because compounding only works for those who stay long enough. The impatient interrupt the process. The disciplined multiply it. The law is simple. Small actions, repeated over long periods, produce exponential results. But the longer you stay, the harder it is to stay. That's why most never finish. You plant a seed, expect a forest. You train once, expect transformation. You post once, expect recognition. That's not how time works. Time rewards the consistent, not the dramatic. The quiet, not the loud. The patient, not the desperate. You have a choice. Quit early and lose everything, or stay long and gain what others can't even imagine. 2. The curve of the compounding game. Every discipline follows the same curve. Flat, 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 then exponential. At first, progress feels invisible. You're showing up daily and nothing seems to change. That's where 99% quit, right before the curve bends. But the 1% who stay cross into acceleration. Suddenly, everything multiplies. The skills sharpen faster. The results grow larger. The momentum feeds itself. Imagine a flywheel. It takes enormous effort to start turning. At first, you push and nothing moves. But once it spins, every push becomes easier until it's unstoppable. That's compounding. You don't see progress daily, you store it, like pressure building behind a dam. And when it breaks, the release looks instant to outsiders. But you know it wasn't instant. It was inevitable. That's the math most never learn. Patience is the equation's missing variable. Remove it, and everything collapses. 3. The price of interruption. Compounding punishes impatience. The moment you stop, the math resets. Every pause costs progress. The person who starts and stops never compounds. They restart at 0 each time, proud of their effort, blind to their waste. They're consistent at being inconsistent. Here's what they don't understand. Momentum is fragile. Once broken, it demands double effort to rebuild. Imagine 2 investors. One invests a small amount every month for 10 years. The other invests big for 2 years, quits, then starts again later. Who wins? Always the first, because consistency compounds faster than intensity. It's the same with training, focus, and habits. You don't need to do more. You need to stop stopping. Every reset robs you of the invisible growth that was already building. That's why patience is power. It prevents resets. It protects progress. It lets the curve continue bending upward while others restart endlessly. You have a choice. Be the one who stays, not the one who restarts. 4. Time is a multiplier. Time doesn't add value. It multiplies it. The longer you stay consistent, the greater the return on every act of discipline. Here's the hidden formula. Effort times time times consistency equals exponential growth. Miss one variable and the formula collapses. Effort without consistency is wasted. Consistency without time is limited. Time without effort is nothing. Most people focus on effort. They push hard for a week, then fade. They sprint, collapse, repeat. They measure by hours worked, not years stayed. But mastery is measured in endurance, not effort. It's not about how fast you go. It's about how long you last. The masters stay in the same lane for decades. They compound skills until they can't be replaced. They use time as leverage, because time amplifies everything it touches, both strength and weakness. If you plant discipline, time multiplies it into mastery. If you plant chaos, time multiplies it into destruction. You have a choice. What you do daily is the seed. Time is the soil, and compounding is the harvest. That's the law. 5. Becoming the compounding mind. Patience isn't about waiting. It's about building while others stop. The compounding mind doesn't rush. It knows that speed is irrelevant if you never quit. It knows that small wins done daily outperform massive bursts done rarely. It knows that every repetition stores invisible progress waiting to emerge. You want exponential growth? Then stop chasing exponential results. Chase consistent repetitions, because the exponential happens on its own after you've earned it. Here's the mindset shift. Short-term thinkers chase sensation. Long-term thinkers chase systems. Sensation fades. Systems stay. The long game player doesn't ask, how fast can I win? They ask, how long can I sustain? That's the difference between a spark and a sun. A spark burns bright and dies fast. A sun burns steady and powers worlds. You have a choice. Be the spark or be the sun. The impatient shine briefly. The patient shine indefinitely. That's the mathematics of time. You can't cheat it. You can only respect it. You've learned the law that governs growth. You've seen how compounding rewards patience and punishes impatience. You've seen how the long game turns effort into exponential return. Now it's time to refine your movement. Because patience alone isn't enough, it must be paired with precision. You've learned the law of compounding. Now you'll learn the rhythm of mastery. Chapter 3. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Chapter 3. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. 1. The myth of speed. The world glorifies speed. Fast success, fast money, fast results. But what the world calls speed is usually chaos in disguise. People rush to move faster because they're afraid of being still. They confuse movement with progress. They mistake panic for productivity. Speed without control is self-destruction. It looks impressive. It feels powerful. But it ends in mistakes, resets, and exhaustion. The truth is simple. Speed comes from smoothness. Smoothness comes from precision. And precision only comes from patience. That's the paradox of mastery. To move fast, you must first slow down. To scale, you must first stabilize. To dominate, you must first discipline your pace. The weak rush. The strong regulate. 2. The cost of rushing. Rushing is the enemy of excellence. Every time you rush, you trade accuracy for anxiety. You trade calm execution for chaotic effort. You trade the long game for short-term illusion. You can't build stability while you're sprinting. You can't refine details when your mind is racing. And you can't correct errors you refuse to slow down long enough to see. Imagine a craftsman carving marble. If he moves too fast, he shatters the stone. If he moves deliberately, he creates art. Your life is the same. Every rushed decision leaves cracks you'll later have to fix. Every impatient action creates future friction. That's why most people are stuck repeating the same problems. They're too busy moving to notice the lessons. Slow is not weakness. It's awareness. It's control. It's the ability to act with accuracy instead of panic. 3. The mechanics of smoothness. Smoothness is the bridge between patience and speed. It's what turns discipline into momentum. It's the hidden rhythm of mastery. When you move smoothly, you conserve energy. You create efficiency instead of friction. You make each repetition cleaner, tighter, faster, naturally. The elite know this law. Soldiers, surgeons, athletes, pilots, they all train slow to move fast. They rehearse every motion until it's flawless. Because perfection under pressure only exists when built under patience. You can't rise under chaos if you train under chaos. You can't stay calm in speed if you never learn control in stillness. That's why the masters look effortless. They're not fast because they rush. They're fast because they've practiced smoothness for years. You have a choice. Stop forcing speed. Start refining rhythm. Speed will follow. 4. The discipline of control pace. Mastery has a tempo. It's slower than you think, but sharper than you expect. It's deliberate, calculated, relentless. Most people fail not because they lack effort, but because they lack pacing. They burn too hot, too soon. They sprint in the first mile of a marathon. The disciplined pace differently. They regulate their energy. They rest strategically. They build consistency before intensity. You want power? Pace it. You want endurance? Guard it. Each step you take slowly is one less mistake you'll repeat later. Each slow refinement compounds into seamless execution. That's how smooth becomes fast, through structure, not speed. The impatient live in chaos. The patient live in rhythm. Control your tempo. Own your timeline. That's how you dominate. 5. The flow of precision. There's a moment in mastery where everything clicks. The movements align. The thinking stops. The body flows. That's the reward for patience. Flow born from control. You can't reach that state by rushing. You can't force flow. You build it through frictionless repetition. Every act done slowly teaches accuracy. Every accurate act teaches confidence. Confidence becomes rhythm. Rhythm becomes flow. Flow becomes speed. That's the real progression. That's the path of the long game. Most people never experience it because they're addicted to visible motion. But the masters live for invisible refinement. They build perfection in silence, so that when it's time to move, they're unstoppable. Slow isn't about hesitation. It's about dominance through control. The slower you master the fundamentals, the faster you execute under pressure. That's the key. That's the discipline. That's the long game. You've learned that rushing is weakness disguised as urgency. You've seen that patience builds precision, and precision builds speed. You've seen that mastery isn't born from chaos. It's born from rhythm. Now it's time to go deeper, because waiting and moving slowly are only the surface of control. The next level is about endurance, about mastering the waiting itself. You've learned to move smoothly. Now you'll learn to wait strategically. Chapter 4. The discipline of waiting. 1. The power hidden in delay. Most people can work. Few can wait. Waiting feels empty. It feels like nothing is happening. But waiting is where everything happens. The world tells you that delay is loss, that if you're not moving, you're falling behind. that silence equals stagnation. But that's the illusion of speed again, the impatience of the crowd. Here's the truth. Every strong structure is built on waiting. Steel must cool. Seeds must stay buried. Wounds must close. Minds must mature. Waiting is not the absence of progress. It's progress in disguise. It's the unseen stage of transformation where foundations are forged. You have a choice. Rush and ruin it, or wait and let it ripen. 2. The test of emotional control. Waiting tests your emotions more than your patience. Because when nothing happens, the mind panics. It demands proof that progress exists. It wants validation. It craves movement. That's when most people break. They mistake stillness for failure. They let anxiety dictate action. And in doing so, they destroy what was quietly growing. Waiting requires emotional discipline, the ability to stay calm when outcomes are invisible. It's not about ignoring emotion. It's about mastering it. Here's the move. When impatience rises, breathe. When doubt speaks, observe. When fear whispers, stay still. The longer you can wait without breaking, the more power you gain over yourself. Because control isn't proven in motion. It's proven in stillness. Anyone can act. Few can endure the silence between actions. You have a choice. Control your emotions or be controlled by them. That's the key. 3. The physics of timing. Every result in nature obeys timing. There is no shortcut to seasons. No harvest without growth. No outcome without duration. The impatient try to hack this law, to force outcomes before maturity. And that's why they fail repeatedly. Timing isn't something you manage. It's something you respect. You can't command it, but you can align with it. Think of an archer. He doesn't release immediately. He pulls. He aims. He holds tension. He waits for perfect alignment, then releases once. That's mastery of timing. No wasted arrows. No random shots. You must do the same with your life. Prepare deliberately. Hold tension with composure. Release only when aligned. Every disciplined delay builds precision. Every patient pause compounds strength. That's how waiting becomes weaponized. 4. The enemy. Restless action. Restless action destroys results. The need to do something at all times ruins long-term success. Most people aren't overworked, they're overreactive. They mistake movement for control. They rush because waiting feels powerless. But reaction isn't power. It's submission. It's letting external pressure dictate your internal rhythm. Here's what real power looks like. You see chaos. You stay still. You see urgency. You breathe slower. You see noise. You choose silence. Waiting gives you the only thing chaos can't touch: composure. That's the skill of the long game player. They know when to act. And more importantly, when not to. The weak crave movement. The strong crave timing. That's the difference between motion and mastery. You have a choice. Act on impulse or move with intention. That's the key. 5. Turning waiting into strength. The disciplined don't just wait. They use waiting. They convert it into focus. They sharpen in silence. They prepare while others panic. Waiting is not passive. It's active patience. It's training under stillness. It's discipline without display. Here's how to practice it. When results are delayed, refine your process. When silence grows, strengthen your mindset. When time drags, work your endurance. Every moment of waiting is an opportunity to prepare. Every delay is a test of your inner order. Every season of silence is a setup for power. Most people waste waiting by complaining. The strong use waiting by building capacity. They emerge from the delay sharper, calmer, stronger. That's the essence of the long game. To make time your ally, not your enemy. The crowd demands reward. The master demands readiness. That's the difference between wanting it soon and being ready when it arrives. You've learned that waiting is not weakness. It's the highest form of control. You've seen that delay is not failure, it's preparation. You've seen that the real test of discipline happens in silence. Now it's time to face the hardest truth of the long game. You can wait for years, but if you break under discomfort, it's all lost. Patience must be paired with pain tolerance. You've mastered the art of waiting. Now you'll master the art of endurance. Chapter 5. The Strength to Withstand. 1. The weight that builds you. Strength is not built in comfort. It's built in pressure. It's built in endurance. It's built in what you can withstand without collapsing. Everyone can start strong. Few can stay strong. Endurance is the measure of character. Because when pain arrives, motivation dies. When fatigue sets in, inspiration fades. When progress slows, emotion disappears. That's when most people stop. Not because they can't continue, but because they don't want to continue without comfort. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't need comfort. It doesn't need permission. Endurance is the ultimate separator. It's where strength stops being potential and becomes reality. The weak escape discomfort. The strong adapt to it. The untrained panic. The disciplined breathe. 2. The science of pain adaptation. Pain is data. It's feedback from your system telling you where growth begins. Most people misread it. They think pain is punishment. But pain is the signal for transformation. The body adapts through stress. The mind strengthens through resistance. The spirit matures through struggle. That's the formula of progress. Expose, adjust, adapt, repeat. Every time you endure without retreat, you rewire your nervous system to handle more. You raise your threshold. You expand your limits. The opposite is also true. Every time you escape discomfort, you train fragility. You shrink your tolerance. You become weaker. The law is simple. What you avoid controls you. What you withstand transforms you. 3. The threshold principle. Everyone has a breaking point. The goal isn't to avoid it. It's to move it. Your tolerance for stress is like a muscle. It grows only when challenged. But challenge must be controlled. Not reckless pain, strategic exposure. Here's the move. Find your threshold. Push slightly beyond it. Hold the line longer than comfort allows. Then recover. Repeat. That's how resilience compounds. A runner increases distance by meters, not miles. A lifter increases weight by plates, not tons. A thinker increases focus by minutes, not hours. Incremental pressure, consistently applied, builds unstoppable durability. There's no hack. There's only tolerance training. You can't become strong without strain. You can't expand capacity without resistance. The long game player knows this. They don't fear pressure. They use it. They don't rush recovery. They respect it. They don't chase intensity. They chase consistency. That's the path. That's the law. You have a choice. Stay fragile or raise your threshold. 4. The psychology of endurance. The strongest people aren't fearless. They're simply fluent in discomfort. They don't expect it to feel good. They expect it to test them. They've rehearsed hardship until it's familiar. And familiarity kills fear. You can do the same. Rehearse pain before it arrives. Expose yourself to voluntary difficulty. Fast when you could eat. Wake when you could sleep. Train when you could rest. Wait when you could rush. Each act of voluntary hardship teaches your mind one message. I can handle this. And once that belief is installed, you become unstoppable. Endurance becomes identity. You no longer need courage. It's automatic. Because your default response to pain is persistence. That's the highest form of freedom. To remain unmoved when everything around you demands collapse. 5. Becoming unbreakable. Endurance is not about lasting forever. It's about lasting longer than you did before. That's progress. Each time you hold the line, You prove to yourself that the old limits are gone. Each time you withstand pain without quitting, you add another layer of armor to your mind. Soon, struggle becomes routine. Discomfort becomes neutral. You stop reacting. You start enduring automatically. That's unbreakable will. Not the absence of pain, but the mastery of response. The weak ask, "When will this end?" The strong say, "I can handle it until it does." That's the difference. That's control. Because endurance isn't about the environment. It's about the internal command that says, "No matter what happens, I continue." When that becomes your default, time bends in your favor. You no longer fear the storm, you become it. That's the long game. That's the strength to withstand. You've learned how endurance transforms weakness into strength. You've seen how pain becomes power when you stop running from it. You've seen that resilience is not a trait, it's a practice. But endurance without focus is scattered strength. To last long, you must direct energy with precision. You've learned to withstand pressure. Now you'll learn to channel it. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Focus. 1. The Economy of Attention. Focus is your most valuable currency. Every second of attention you spend is an investment. But most people are bankrupt, not in money, in concentration. They leak focus everywhere. Notifications, opinions, noise, endless stimulation. They mistake awareness for attention and presence for progress. You can't build a long game with a scattered mind. You can't master anything when you're addicted to everything. Every time you divide focus, you divide power. Every time you chase distraction, you lose direction. Every interruption is a withdrawal from your mental account. Here's the truth. You don't need more time. You need fewer leaks. You don't need more hours. You need more depth. The world rewards precision. Not the one who sees everything, but the one who sees one thing completely. Focus is the weapon. Distraction is the enemy. 2. The addiction to noise. The modern world is built to steal your focus. Every app, every headline, every alert is designed to fracture your attention. You're not lazy, you're hijacked. Dopamine has turned you into prey. Every scroll, every buzz, every update, a hit. The reward is small, but the cost is massive. You lose your ability to think deeply, wait patiently, act intentionally. That's the real war. Not between people, between stillness and stimulation. The weak surrender. They consume until their focus evaporates. The strong fight back. They cut noise like poison. Delete distractions. Silence devices. Guard your mind like a fortress. Every distraction you eliminate buys back power. Every minute of silence strengthens clarity. Every act of refusal rebuilds dominance. You have a choice. Control your focus or be controlled by noise. 3. The discipline of single targeting. Focus is not multitasking, it's monastic. It means devotion to one mission until it's complete. Pick your target. Eliminate everything else. That's how power concentrates. You can't hit a target, you keep changing. You can't master a craft, you keep abandoning. You can't dominate a domain, you keep dividing. Every time you chase variety, you destroy velocity. Every time you pivot without patience, you reset your progress to zero. Here's what the long game player does. They lock onto one thing. They refine daily. They remove interference. A monk sharpens the same blade for decades. A master repeats the same move until it's flawless. That's not boredom. That's brilliance disguised as discipline. You don't need 10 goals. You need one direction. You don't need motivation. You need precision. 4. Building mental endurance. Focus fades without endurance. You can't hold attention if your mental muscles are weak. That's why deep work feels painful. You've been training distraction, not discipline. The mind resists stillness like an untrained body resists strain. But resistance is a sign of weakness leaving the system. You build endurance the same way you build strength, repetition under discomfort. Here's the protocol. Set one task. Work without interruption. When your mind drifts, bring it back. No judgment, just return. Every return strengthens focus. Every round of redirection builds endurance. That's the invisible gym of the long game mind. After weeks, you'll notice something. Noise loses its grip. Time slows. Depth increases. You start living in concentration, not chaos. The impatient can't see this shift. They quit before clarity appears. But those who persist earn a mind that moves mountains. You have a choice. Train distraction or train dominance. That's the key. 5. Precision is power. True focus is not just exclusion, it's refinement. You cut until only the essential remains. That's how clarity becomes strength. The disciplined don't chase every opportunity. They chase alignment. They say no more than they say yes. They're not everywhere. They're effective where it matters. That's precision. And precision compounds. When you direct energy into one path for years, you build inevitability. You stop competing. You start converging. Most people chase intensity for a week. The masters chase precision for a lifetime. Because precision creates permanence. That's how you win the long game. Not by doing more, but by wasting nothing. Every thought, every action, every movement, deliberate. No noise, no waste, no leaks. That's the discipline of focus. That's the advantage of patience. You have a choice. Control your attention or surrender your potential. You've learned that focus is a weapon. You've seen that noise is the new addiction, and that attention is the new battlefield. You've learned to aim your energy like a laser instead of a floodlight, to train endurance until deep work becomes instinct, to refine precision until every action matters. Now it's time to elevate from mental focus to emotional control, because you can't hold focus if emotion keeps breaking discipline. You've mastered the mind. Now you'll master the feeling. Chapter 7. Emotional Discipline. 1. The mind breaks before the body. No one quits because their body fails. They quit because their emotions do. Exhaustion isn't the reason. Overreaction is. Pain doesn't destroy you. Panic does. Emotional discipline is the gate between chaos and control. It's what separates the momentary from the masterful. Without it, all your strategy collapses at the first surge of feeling. The weak obey emotion. The strong observe it. That's the line. You don't need to kill emotion. You need to command it. You don't need to be cold. You need to be composed. The crowd reacts. The disciplined respond. That's the first rule of emotional control. Delay your reaction until reason returns. 2. The reaction trap. Every emotion demands an action. Anger says attack. Fear says escape. Doubt says stop. Most people obey instantly. They act on impulse and call it authenticity. They mistake expression for power. But expression without control is self-sabotage. Here's the truth. Emotions are real, but they are not instructions. They are signals, not commands. You can feel anger without attacking. You can feel fear without fleeing. You can feel pain without collapsing. Emotional discipline begins with separation, the space between stimulus and response. That space is where freedom lives. That's where your power begins. You don't need to suppress emotion. You need to translate it. Turn anger into fuel. Turn fear into alertness. Turn pain into precision. That's transformation, not denial. That's the discipline. 3. The pause protocol. When emotion rises, pause. Don't speak. Don't react. Don't decide. The pause is your shield. It's the reset button between chaos and control. The undisciplined mind rushes to act. It needs to release pressure, but the disciplined mind absorbs it. It holds the energy, refines it, redirects it. Here's the move. Count to 10. Breathe through your nose. Observe what you're feeling without identifying with it. Anger is not you. Fear is not you. They are visitors. You decide how long they stay. The pause trains power. Because each second you delay reaction, you strengthen reason. And reason is what builds empires while emotion burns them. That's why composure is not passivity. It's warfare. Every pause is a small victory in the long game of self-control. For the emotional economy, you have limited energy each day. Spend on what builds you, not what drains you. Most people waste their emotional energy on noise. They get angry at strangers online. They argue about opinions that don't change outcomes. They replay old insults like they're earning interest on pain. That's emotional debt. Constant payments to things that don't matter. The disciplined live differently. They budget their emotions. They choose where to invest intensity. They reserve reaction for what moves the mission forward. That's emotional discipline in motion. You don't give full emotion to small things. You don't give full attention to shallow people. You don't give full effort to temporary noise. Save your fire for what deserves it. Everything else, let it burn itself out. That's how you stay unshaken while the world panics. That's the long game mindset. 5. Mastering the inner temperature. Emotional discipline means you regulate your internal temperature no matter the external weather. People lose focus because they match the energy of their environment. They absorb moods. They mirror reactions. They become what surrounds them. That's weakness, because it means your state is controlled by conditions, not command. The strong remain steady. Their tone doesn't spike with chaos. Their mood doesn't collapse with failure. Their rhythm doesn't shift with noise. They stay the same in victory and defeat. They don't celebrate too high or despair too low. That's balance. That's mastery. Emotional neutrality is not numbness. It's dominance. It means you act from principle, not from pressure. It means you live by direction, not by distraction. When your inner state becomes independent of external events, you become immovable. That's emotional sovereignty. That's control. You've learned that emotion is not the enemy. Reactivity is. You've seen that power lives in the pause. That composure is your advantage. And that energy must be budgeted, not spilled. You've learned to feel deeply but act selectively. To use emotion as a weapon, not a weakness. To stay calm when chaos demands reaction. Now it's time to connect emotional control to external execution. Because discipline without expression is containment, and mastery requires direction. You've mastered your emotions. Now you'll master your expression. Chapter 8. The Power of Restraint. 1. Power without restraint is chaos. Power is meaningless without control. It destroys as easily as it builds. And that's why restraint is the highest form of strength. Anyone can act on impulse. Anyone can speak in anger. Anyone can show dominance through reaction. But restraint is refined power. The weak show everything they feel. The strong hold everything they know. Restraint is not suppression. It's weaponized patience. It's control disguised as calm. The loud are predictable. The calm are dangerous. Because silence hides strategy. And the one who doesn't reveal his hand controls the game. 2. The physics of control. Restraint follows the same law as tension. The more you contain energy, the more force you can release later. An arrow only flies when it's pulled back. A storm only forms when air compresses. A mind only sharpens when it learns to wait. You don't lose power by holding back. You amplify it. But the world worships speed. It tells you to react instantly, respond emotionally, decide impulsively. That's how most people lose control. They mistake motion for momentum. The strong do the opposite. They pause. They hold pressure. They let tension build behind composure. That's not hesitation, it's precision. The pause before a strike, the breath before an answer, the silence before the move that changes everything. Restraint turns power from noise into direction. That's the discipline. That's control. You have a choice. Explode early or dominate later. 3. The strategic silence principle. The most powerful people in the world say less than they know, not because they lack words, but because they understand weight. Every word you say reveals information. Every reaction exposes a weakness. Every explanation reduces authority. That's why restraint in speech is strategic silence. It keeps your intentions invisible. It keeps your mind unreadable. It keeps your leverage intact. You don't need to prove you're right. You don't need to argue to be understood. You don't need to broadcast your moves to validate your strength. Let your silence create curiosity. Let your calm unsettle those who depend on reaction. Let your results make the noise your words never should. The person who cannot stay silent is always predictable. The one who can hold silence commands respect. Restraint isn't weakness. It's psychological dominance. 4. The discipline of delayed action. Restraint doesn't mean inaction. It means timing. There's a difference between waiting and wasting. The undisciplined wait out of fear. The disciplined wait out of calculation. Here's the move. When provoked, don't react. When tempted, don't indulge. When pressured, don't rush. When uncertain, don't decide. Hold position until the move is clear. Then execute with precision. Restraint is the ability to delay gratification until impact is inevitable. It's patience turned into a weapon. The long game player knows. The first reaction is usually emotional. The second is strategic. The third is final. Most lose because they act on the first. The disciplined win because they wait for the third. Every second you delay action sharpens clarity. Every moment you withhold impulse compounds focus. That's how restraint creates superiority. That's how patience turns into dominance. 5. Quiet power is permanent power. Restraint builds something deeper than control. It builds presence. People trust those who don't overshare. They respect those who don't overreact. They follow those who don't overexplain. Restraint creates authority because it signals self-command. And self-command is the rarest trait in the modern world. The reactive burnout. The restrained build longevity. Because restraint conserves energy. It protects reputation. It preserves advantage. When others waste force proving power, you conserve it and use it only when it matters most. That's why true masters appear calm. They don't fight every battle. They choose the one that ends the war. Restraint is control of self, timing, and tone. It's the art of winning quietly. It's the mark of someone who no longer needs validation to act. You don't need to prove your power. You need to maintain it. That's restraint. That's mastery. You've learned that restraint isn't weakness. It's weaponized control. You've seen how silence creates strategy, how delayed action builds precision, and how stillness amplifies power. You've learned that composure isn't passive, it's calculated dominance, and that every impulse resisted is strength gained. But restraint alone isn't enough. The long game demands patience through time, not just control in moments. You've mastered restraint in the short term. Now you'll learn endurance over the long term. Chapter 9. The Discipline of Delay. 1. Time is the final test of strength. Everyone wants fast results, fast money, fast recognition, fast mastery. But nothing permanent is built quickly. Every lasting result demands delay. The impatient lose before the race even begins. They trade compounding power for temporary pleasure. They confuse speed with progress and movement with meaning. Here's the truth. Time is the test that separates the impulsive from the invincible. And most people fail because they can't wait long enough for the results they claim to want. Discipline of delay means this. You stop measuring progress by how fast something happens and start measuring it by how long you can stay consistent without reward. That's the game. Patience is not weakness. It's endurance disguised as silence. You have a choice. Rush and restart, or hold and rise. 2. The mathematics of compounding. Every choice you make compounds. Every act of patience multiplies. Every delay you master becomes a future advantage. The impatient demand growth on day one. The disciplined build systems that grow forever. One man plants seeds and digs them up the next day to check progress. Another plants and waits, watering daily, pruning weekly, harvesting yearly. After a decade, one has frustration, the other has a forest. The difference wasn't luck. It was delay. Every delayed gratification is a deposit into your long game account. Each decision to wait earns interest and strength, clarity, and stability. This is how patience compounds into dominance. The weak crave immediate confirmation. The strong crave undeniable proof. And proof takes time. 3. The impulse war. Your greatest enemy isn't failure. It's impulse. Impulse ruins what discipline builds. Impulse sells your future for a quick fix. You feel discomfort and want escape. You see opportunity and want to grab it. You sense doubt and want to quit. Impulse is the collapse of the long game. It trades permanence for pleasure. The world runs on impulse. Instant purchases, instant opinions, instant validation. That's why mediocrity moves fast. Because it can't wait. The long game player knows. If it's worth it, it will take time. If it's great, it will resist hurry. If it's real, it won't require rush. So you delay the urge. You pause before reaction. You stretch the space between want and act. Every second, you resist impulse. You build command over self. That's the battle you must win daily. You have a choice. React fast and stay fragile, or delay and become unbreakable. 4. The science of waiting. Patience isn't passive. It's active restraint. It's controlled tension under time. In neuroscience, delayed reward activates the same circuitry as long-term satisfaction. You literally rewire your brain when you wait with purpose. Each time you delay gratification, your prefrontal cortex strengthens. That's the part that separates human from animal, master from slave, builder from consumer. Waiting is mental weightlifting. Every moment of stillness under pressure is resistance training for the mind. When you learn to wait, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop forcing and start positioning. You stop reacting and start ruling. That's why the disciplines seem lucky. Their timing looks perfect because they didn't move early. They waited until the moment of maximum leverage. The world moves fast. The wise move when it matters. That's the discipline of delay. That's the foundation of longevity. 4. The science of waiting. Patience isn't passive. It's active restraint. It's controlled tension under time. In neuroscience, delayed reward activates the same circuitry as long-term satisfaction. You literally rewire your brain when you wait with purpose. Each time you delay gratification, your prefrontal cortex strengthens. That's the part that separates human from animal, master from slave, builder from consumer. Waiting is mental weightlifting. Every moment of stillness under pressure is resistance training for the mind. When you learn to wait, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop forcing and start positioning. You stop reacting and start ruling. That's why the disciplines seem lucky. Their timing looks perfect because they didn't move early. They waited until the moment of maximum leverage. The world moves fast. The wise move when it matters. That's the discipline of delay. That's the foundation of longevity. You've learned that waiting is not weakness, it's warfare. You've seen that patience compounds power. That impulse is the true enemy, and that the longer you can delay gratification, the longer your success will last. You've built the strength to wait through silence, through pressure, through time. But the final evolution isn't just about waiting. It's about identity, becoming the kind of person who is patient, not just practices it. You've learned to delay reward. Now you'll learn to become time itself. Chapter 10. The Long Game Identity. 1. Becoming time. At first, you practice patience. Then, you become patience. At first, you delay reaction. Then, reaction disappears. At first, you count days. Then you stop counting. That's when you cross the line. From player of the long game to embodiment of it. The world runs on urgency. You move on inevitability. Others rush to arrive. You expand time itself. The long game identity means this. You're no longer waiting for results. You are building realities so solid they can't help but arrive. You don't chase moments. You create momentum. You don't pray for timing. You are timing. Patience has replaced pressure. Silence has replaced noise. Consistency has replaced speed. You no longer look at the clock, because you become a clock. 2. The death of urgency. Urgency is the language of the untrained. It's the voice of insecurity demanding attention now. Act fast. Decide now. Don't wait. That's the trap. Because anything truly great demands gestation. Pressure before readiness destroys potential. The long game identity eliminates urgency entirely. You operate on precision, not panic. On rhythm, not rush. You don't need to be early. You need to be inevitable. That's why urgency-based people burn out. Their timelines are shorter than their dreams. They sprint in circles, then mistake exhaustion for effort. You move differently. You know progress without peace is failure in disguise. When you kill urgency, you free yourself from manipulation. No one can rush a person who knows their own timing. The crowd panics in months. The master plans in decades. You have a choice. React to the world's clock, or build your own. 3. Calm as a weapon. When you reach this level, calm becomes your sharpest edge. Calm unnerves the reactive. Calm reveals the impatient. Calm exposes the weak. Because calm cannot be faked. Anyone can act confident for a minute. Only the long game mind can stay unshaken for years. Your calm communicates control. It tells the world, I cannot be hurried. I cannot be baited. I cannot be moved. That's real power. Calm is the sound of certainty. It's the silence that follows mastery. You no longer need to convince, compete, or compare. You observe. You analyze. You act only when movement creates advantage. This calm is not passive. It's loaded tension, energy held, not wasted. It's the pause before dominance. The crowd sees stillness and calls it weakness. You know stillness is strategy. 4. The identity shift. The long game isn't just something you do. It's something you become. Discipline stops feeling forced. It becomes preference. Silence stops feeling heavy. It becomes home. Patience stops feeling like waiting. It becomes breathing. You're no longer practicing habits. You are living principles. You don't ask, how long will it take? You ask, how solid will it be? You don't need motivation anymore. Your process is the motivation. Your vision is self-fueling. Your system is self-sustaining. The long game identity means self-sufficiency of purpose. You could disappear for a decade, and when you return, everything you built still stands, because you built it correctly. That's the quiet pride of the patient. That's the reward of restraint. That's the peace of precision. 5. Immovable, eternal. When you live the long game long enough, you stop chasing immortality. You build it. Your work becomes timeless. Your habits outlive motivation. Your impact compounds silently. You stop fearing loss because nothing can take what time already secured. You stop fearing failure because you've trained to outlast it. You stop fearing delay because you've made delay your discipline. The long game identity is invincible because it's untied from speed, validation, or applause. You no longer depend on the crowd to believe. You already decided, and decision is forever. The final evolution of patience is permanence. You're not building success. You're building inevitability. You've stopped asking when. You've started answering always. That's how the game ends. Not with noise, but with calm certainty. You become the process. You become the proof. You become time. You have a choice. Rush and vanish. Or wait and become eternal. You've learned that patience is not pause, it's precision. That waiting is not weakness, it's warfare. That calm is not absence, it's dominance. You've seen that every delay builds compounding strength, that every restraint multiplies power, that every moment of silence becomes leverage. The long game mindset turns ordinary people into forces of nature. It transforms time from enemy to ally. It replaces urgency with inevitability. So here's your challenge. Play slower. Think longer. Wait deeper. Because every year you master patience. You double your control. Stop chasing quick wins. Build permanent power. This is the final truth. The long game always wins. Because time eventually bows to discipline. Everyone wants speed. Everyone wants immediate results. But few have endurance. You have learned that the impatient burn out quickly, while the patient build empires. That every delay is a deposit. Every repetition, an investment. Every quiet year, a foundation. You know that waiting is not weakness, it is warfare. That the long game doesn't just build results, it builds you. From now on, measure in decades, not days. Think in terms of movements, not moments. Disconnect from the applause. Embrace the process. Protect your rhythm. Because while they seek attention, you are accumulating power, wisdom. And in the end, patience always wins. That is the mindset of the long game. That is how you outlast everyone. That is how you become untouchable.